Let's discuss today Pure Aero 98, the hot and trendy one, which is stealing some ATP players from other brands. Yeah, that's right. Tsitsipas is trying this racket in a blackout paint job and yeah, having great results. But we're getting slightly off topic here. Let's discuss Pure Aero 98 because Babolat in general has a pretty strong brand identity, a lot about the performance, so a lot of power, a lot of spin, not so much control, not so much feel, and that's where they struggle to capture the fan base of some other popular brands and rackets, more classic, more traditional, like Head Prestige and Wilson Blade. And I think it's safe to say that Pure Strike in general in its intention was to capture those traditional players, most likely blade players, and I think they kind of failed there. First of all, traditional players are very tricky to handle, like they get used to something and they kind of never want to change. And if you try to shift this balance of, okay, let's maybe try to lure them with a bit easier power, easier spin, sometimes you just lose this connection, lose this feel, and then they wait, it's not a classic frame, I don't understand this, and they just ditch the racket and go back to their trusty choices. At some point, when you try to pick up a power spin oriented racket, you end up with something a bit more than the Pure Strike. Pure Strike is kind of this gatekeeper to the Babolat brand, and then you have even more power, even more responsive nature. But now something has changed. Pure Aero 98, I think it is a great racket, and me as a more traditional player with classic strokes, I can actually understand this racket really well. Gives me all the control that I need in order to perform. Yeah, it is still a bit lower in control compared to the Blade or Pure Strike or Prestige line, but it gives me more power, more spin, maybe more forgiveness. This trade can be worth it because it is a bit easier to perform well with. And when you compete, sometimes you just don't have this perfect day. Being competitive is more about problem solving. So that's why Pure Aero 98 is a great racket. And with the rackets like the Blade and Prestige or TF40, if you don't really practice that often, then you might struggle to compete with versus other players that are in general in better shape. That's where kind of Pure Aero is typing in this cheat code. So the power, I think it is set quite similar to the E-Zone 98. Yeah, it is a responsive racket, but something about the power to control ratio mixed with this spin potential, amazing spin potential, is giving me the feel and control that I need. And I actually maybe have a stronger sense of feel with the Pure Aero 98 than with the E-Zone. With the E-Zone, it's a bit harder to shape the ball, so you have to hit flat. And with Pure Aero 98, it is maybe a bit harder to hit flat, but much easier to spin the ball. Yet, it's not as responsive, it's not shooting crazy high or maybe crazy far. You can hit high, but the power is tempered a little bit. So I think it is balanced really well with 1620 pattern. You can obviously put 130 gauge of strings, so you still have some margin to play with. I actually want to customize it a little bit to get this fluidity. The racket will be more powerful, but also more control oriented, because I will be more fluid with my strokes. Whenever I lose the sense of the racket's orientation in space, I kind of rip the racket in a kind of squarish way. And with the heavier racket, it is a bit easier to hit more fluid, and with the fluidity, it is a bit easier to be repetitive. So that's my aim, and I plan to customize the Pure Aero 98 to Alcaraz specs. So let's see the magic behind his setup. 130 gauge. great choice, great choice. I'm using 130 gauges quite a lot, and yeah, the speed potential. I think it is set on the same level as V-Core 98. Pin obviously is great. Now control, I think, yeah, like I said, to me it is as control oriented as the EZone 98, with the exception that EZone 98 wants to hit flat, and whenever I try to pull up the ball, I kind of lose this sense of control. With the Pure Aero 98, it is a bit easier to spin the ball, so in some hands, in some play styles, one will be more control oriented than the other, so depends on how you feel the ball, how you spin the ball, how you solve problems. Touch and feel. Here I think the EZone 98 is a bit better, and in general Pure Aero 98 struggles a bit, maybe with a bit heavier specs and this sense of racket in space. It will improve, so to be continued. String spacing is quite wide, but you have extra cross to limit the power. It is a bit weird. Sometimes I hit a bit too far, sometimes a bit too short, most likely too far. So I try to capture this middle spot with touch and feel, with tension and string of choice. When it comes to the stability, I think it is really good. I don't really have any need to customize the racket looking for stability. It's mainly for plow through and sense of fluidity. When it comes to the serves, I think it is great. I struggle a bit with serves lately, and with Pure Aero 98 it is a bit easier because yeah, the string pattern is quite responsive. It is a bit easier to spin the ball. It is giving me a bit more for free. So on serves it is helping almost always, I would say. And comfort. Some people say it is a bit too stiff. To me, it is set okay. I don't have any issues with comfort, even with 130 gauge of strings. If I had to improve something with this racket, it would be probably only this fluidity, the specs. The balance is really hard to get. To be honest, I think Pure Aero 98 is one of the best rackets from Babolat right now. And me, as a more traditional player, I can see myself playing with this racket. And at the same time, I can see all those modern players also playing with this racket. So it covers such a big ground of so many play styles, so many preferences. That's how versatile this racket is. You can adjust the tension, you can adjust the gauge. It is relatively light and you can still customize it. Yeah. Me personally, I think I want a bit more consistent response, so I need a bit better touch and feel, but we'll see. After I customize the racket, maybe it will improve a little bit, and then it could actually be my racket of choice. So we'll see. The inspiration is there for sure. Now Tsitsipas, of course, Alcaraz. Alcaraz also has this quite traditional swing, more through the ball. That's it. Make sure to subscribe, it helps me a lot, and see you soon. Bye bye.